Hello? Is there anybody there? Is that doing, yes, that's doing the things that it is supposed to be doing. Hello, welcome. So yes, I'm very sorry about Tuesday. It completely passed me by, basically. I was building a Connex roller coaster with my little boy, and 8 o'clock came and went, and I just was completely absorbed in connecting things together and making roller coasters and stuff, and it's extremely cool. Lots of fun. We had lots of fun. So yes, right. Last week we did a kind of detour into HTML and CSS and stuff, which was a bit weird, but we were creating the layout for a chat application, and so we built this. We did this in Visual Studio Code, and so yeah, this is just HTML, and this was designed for building a chat application. And that was ahead of getting into all the stuff of actually making chat work and all that sort of thing. And so today I am gonna actually start building the functionality bit of this chat application, which is going to be fun. I'll make myself small so that you can, there we go. So yes, we've got, this is bootstrap code here, and it's just doing a Discord style layout for a chat application. So yeah. Okay, so that's nice. So what I'm gonna do is we are going to build a Blazor server application, and I should. I haven't got it running. I have not got the plugin thing running, and it won't work in that. And I will get to the point where hopefully with .NET Preview 7, I'll actually be able to build a standalone version of the Stream Badger app, and then I can just run it and sort of hook it up with Stream Deck to start it and everything. It's just a pain at the moment because I have to run Visual Studio. So yes, so we're going to use Blazor server specifically to build our Discord style chat application, and I want to explain the why of the Blazor server thing, because it's kind of weird to dive straight into Blazor server, but you can build anything with .NET. You can build desktop applications, you can build mobile applications, you can build web applications, you can build all sorts of things, and it's difficult to know kind of what things to show people, what things to introduce, and so if you want to, at the moment I could go, let's build Windows applications, and then anybody, hey Tuna Fudge Face, how's it going? Anybody who's got a Mac can't play, and Microsoft's cross-platform thing, which lets you build applications for Windows and Mac, is really preview, and I don't want to be, I haven't had a chance to get to know it yet, so I don't want to be teaching people stuff. And then web applications is kind of, what do you build when you build a web application? Everyone builds to-do apps, and I really don't want to build a to-do app, or databases. Lots of applications, and if you're not a programmer and you're sort of wanting to get into programming, you should know in advance that many applications are just database applications. And essentially what happens, so a database is a place where you put data and it stores it, and then you can get it back out again. And huge numbers, a huge percentage of the applications in the world are basically an interface, a user interface for putting data in, and then it gets saved in a database, and then the data is taken back out of the data and it's displayed in the user interface, which, you know, it's fine, and you can have, there's a lot of creativity and things that you can put in there, but when you're teaching people, what would we put in a database? I don't know. I could sort of catalog my my Funko Pop superheroes collection. That's Doctor Strange there, you see, and my bobble-headed Howard the Duck in a mecha costume, which is pretty cool. But you know, if you don't have Funko Pops, then you can't do that. And also, if you don't have Funko Pops, you're probably sad that you don't have Funko Pops. So anyway, but everyone likes chatting, and everyone on the internet is, oh, you've got to talk to these people and talk to these people, and everybody's got a Discord server and Twitter and all this sort of stuff. And so that's what we're going to build. We're going to build a chat application. And I want to talk about Blazor and why Blazor Server. Because the thing is, 3-4 years ago, building a chat application with ASP.NET Core, it would have been super difficult, because half of it would have to be JavaScript. And I do not want to be teaching C# and JavaScript. It's bad enough teaching C# and HTML and CSS at the same time. I don't want to be teaching JavaScript at the same time. And I just lost Tuna Fudgeface. Apparently wanted to learn JavaScript. Or he's just gone invisible on me or something. So anyway, Blazor. So let's talk about how the internet actually works. Okay, so with the internet, you have, where's my fingers? So I need to work out which way things are going here. Right, so you have a web browser and a web server, okay? And what normally happens is that the web browser sends a request to the web server. So it opens up an HTTP connection and it sends a request, and then the server sends a response back, and then they close the connection. And actually in the very early days of the internet, it was just HTML files on the server, and the web browser would go, hey, give me that HTML file, and the server would just go, yep, all right, here you are, and chuck the whole thing over. It's much more complicated now, because usually the server side, the browser says, hey, give me this page, and the server goes, hang on a moment while I make that for you from code and data and bits of string and dead spiders, and then throws it back down again. But the point is that the browser sort of goes, hello, connect to the server, ask for something, get it back, disconnect from the server, which makes writing chat apps very, very difficult. But a while ago, basically the people who build the internet said, we want to make chat apps and we need a good way of doing it. And so they invented something called WebSockets. And with WebSockets, the browser opens a connection to the server, and then they both keep it open, and you can just send little bits of information backwards and forwards from one to the other without ever dropping the connection. And so that is really good for writing chat apps and things like that. And the way Blazor Server works is that the browser opens up the connection, and Blazor Server sends back a page, and then the browser and the server just keep having a conversation, and the browser goes, oh, now this has happened, and then the server goes, if that's happened, then I want you to do this. And just sends little updates backwards and forwards, which means that Blazor Server makes it really super easy to write a chat application. So, with all of that said, let's just jump in, and we're going to do a mukta, what should we call it? Let's call it chat app and not try to be particularly clever. And then what we're going to do in here is we're going to say .NET new SLN. Excellent. And we're going to say .NET new -- list. And this shows us a list of all the things that we can create with the .NET command line. And if we go and look through here, we will see that Blazor is down here, and we have Blazor Server and Blazor WASM. So Blazor, yes, graphics. I made slides. I made slides for stuff. But yeah, Blazor Server is what we're using. Blazor WebAssembly is really complicated, and I'm not going to talk about it today. So hang on a moment. So we're going to copy global.json. Hello, Tuna Fudgeface. Okay, so that global.json file, let's talk about that just very quickly. So this, your global.json, I've got so many different versions of .NET installed on this machine. If I do --list SDKs, see I've got 3.1301, 406, 5.0.100, 103, 201, 302, 5.0, 400 preview, and 2 versions of .NET 6 preview. Global.json is a really good way of saying, when I type .NET, this is the version that I want you to run. And so, I don't want to be mucking about with 6 because it's still, it's quite breaky and things are weird. So I'm going to leave that alone. So I'm going to say .NET new Blazor Server, and I'm just going to put the output for that into a directory called src/chatapp. And then we'll add that to our solution file. And then I'm just going to open this directory up in code. So yeah, Blazor Server is based on SignalR. It uses SignalR. So there's a Blazor Server hub on the server side, and there is a the JavaScript client uses the SignalR client, and yeah, it just bounces stuff backwards and forwards basically. So let's say yes to doing that. Right. So our Blazor application, we've got our startup code here and our program file here. So let's go through, before we sort of go too far, let's just talk about how a more advanced application in C# and .NET actually works. So we've still got the program.cs file. When we did our calculator, we had that program.cs, and pretty much everything went in there. And it's still just a standard .NET application, and so it has a program file and it has a main method which takes the string arg. So that's exactly the same as when we did .NET New Console, except this has kind of imported a whole bunch of additional stuff that is used to build a Blazor application. And you can see here that we've got this create host builder, which just says host.create default builder, and then configure web host defaults, and says to use this startup class here. And in our startup class over here, this is where we configure our web application. And this is where we set up a whole bunch of stuff. And so we have configuration, and we'll talk about where configuration gets loaded on at some point. But that goes into there. And then we have this configure services method here. And this is where we say, okay, I'm going to need these things for my application to work. And so I'm going to need Razor pages, and I'm going to need server-side Blazor, and for the demo application, I'm going to need the weather forecast service, whatever that is. And then we have this configure thing down here, where we have a bunch of additional things. and use static files, use routing, and then this use endpoints bit here, and this maps everything to Blazor Hub, and then falls back to the host page if it can't find what it's looking for. Okay. So we'll come back to this later on, because we're going to want to set up some more services, and we're going to create our own services and do sort of interesting stuff with that. But for now, I'm going to drop back to the thing here. I'm going to cd into here and do .NET run. And then we are going to open up the browser here, and we're going to localhost 5001. And so here is our empty Blazor application. And you can see here that there's a counter thing here, and then there's fetch data, and that's doing something interesting, and all sorts of useful stuff going on there. So, and we've got an about page, which for some reason is, yep, there we go, it's taken us off to ASP.NET Core on the internet. Okay, so we can stop that now, and then we can go back to here, and we can go into, let's dig around inside here. So that index page that it was going to was set up, so we got this hello world. Let's go back and run it again, and then just link these things through. So we've got hello world here, and welcome to your new app, and how is Blazor working for you? Please take our brief survey and tell us what you think. And if we go back into here, you can see we've got hello world and welcome to your new app. And then this says survey prompt, title equals how is Blazor working for you? And if I just, I'm going to go back to here and do .NET watch run. And so what this is going to do is, when I make any changes to the application, it will rebuild the code for me there. So VS, do you like ham and pineapple pizza? Okay, and then we can go back to here, and we see that's done a rebuild there. And then if I refresh this, it says, hey, do you like ham and pineapple pizza? Please take our brief survey and tell us what you think. Okay. But this page here has just got like tiny little amounts of stuff on it. And this here, there's obviously, you know, if I press F12 and go to elements, you can see there's all sorts of things. There's an HTML and a head and a body and scripts, and all sorts of stuff has been loaded in there. So where is all that coming from? That is all coming from this shared page here, and we have this main layout.razor bit here, and this has got div class equals page. No, I do not want to become famous. I'm going to block you. You can go away. And why can't I even delete that? Thing. Yes, I am already famous. I have multiple people following me. Just get off. So yeah, we've got this div class equals page, and we've got all this sort of stuff here. But even this, so where's this coming? This div class equals page. Let's see if we can find that in our developer tools here. So we've got, where are we? We've got, oh, here we go, div class equals page. So something has happened outside of this even. So where's our HTML and our head and everything coming from? Well, that is coming from this host.cshtml page here. Okay. So this is where our application is actually pulled in. So this is where we get our doc type HTML and all this sort of stuff pulled in here. Okay, so what we actually want is to have something on the start page that says hello, welcome. Now, if we're going to have a chat app, then we want somewhere that people can go, this is my name that I want to be represented as in the chat app. So I'm going to clear out a whole bunch of this stuff. So I am going to clear out pretty much all of this. So we don't need that. And we don't need that, and we don't need that. Okay, so this @body is the thing that says for each page, this is where I want you to render the stuff. So when this goes through, runs through Blazor, this component thing here gets replaced with what's in main layout.razor, and then what's in body here gets replaced with what's in here. Okay, and so we are going to we'll get rid of all of that, and we're going to do a few things in our CSS, but we'll just start off in our index.razor. We're going to clear out all of this sort of stuff here, and we're going to put a div.container. And then within that, we're going to put a div.row. So this is a Visual Studio Code feature called Emmet, or some people call it Zen coding. So when I want to say div class equals row, like that, instead of doing that, I can just say div.row and then press tab, and it just turns that into div class equals row. There are reasons why that is how it works. And then I can say div.col-6.offset-3. That's just stopped working on me now. Brilliant. Apparently it's because the IntelliSense bit is disappearing. Okay, that's fine. And then in here, so now I want a form, and I want to be able to let the user put in what they want to be called in my application, and then when they say OK, then it'll just take them into a room. Okay, so we are going to put in an edit form. Okay, and our edit form is going to have a text box inside it. So it's going to have thing in here, and then we're going to have a label, which is going to be username, and then we're going to have an input text like this, an input text like that. And then after that, we're going to have a div.mb-3. And in here, we're going to have a button type equals submit. class equals btn and btn dash primary. And that's just going to say login. Okay. So if I now refresh this here, edit form requires either a model parameter or an edit context parameter. So that is this edit form control that we have here. I've got to give it something to link to under the covers. And so we are going to create a new folder and call it models. And then we're going to add a new file and call it login model.cs. And then we're going to say namespace chatapp.models like this. And then we're going to have a public class login model. And this is going to have a property string username. Okay. So for the C# newbies in the room, welcome. And by the way, if there are people who are kind of complete newbies to programming and I'm just going, hey, let's do this and that and the other, please shout out, and remember there are no stupid questions. There are yes, there we go, banned him, haha. Yes, there are no stupid questions. Everybody starts off by not knowing anything at all, and so if I've broken your brain, then just shout out, let me know, and go, hey, why? So this is a class that is going to be used just for data, just for storing some input. And this is a property called username, which allows that value, this username value, can be set from outside the class and read from outside the class as well. So it's got a getter and a setter. And so in here, in index.razor, we're going to add a code section like this. And then we're going to say public login model. Like so, and then we can just do the control dot to bring in using models from there, which is going to pull in chatapp.models. Okay. And so now for our edit form, we can say model equals @model, like so. And that will now link this form to this model here. And then for our input text, we can say bind-value equals model dot username. Okay, so then we do that and we come back to here, and there we go. You see we have our username label and our login there like that, and so that has pretty much worked. I just want to bring this down a little bit so it sort of sits in the middle of the page more. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a class to my container and just add mt5, which says put a 5 space margin at the top. So there you go, that's just pulled that down a bit. And then I can put Bob in there, but when I do login, nothing happens because I haven't told it to do anything. Okay. So we are going to put something into here to say public void handle submit, like this, and then in our edit form up here we can say on valid submit handle submit, like that. So now when the submit button is clicked, or when the user presses enter, which also submits forms, then this handle submit method down here will be called. So then what do we want to do? Well, we want to say that the current user is now whatever they've typed in there, and we need to store that information somewhere. And we need to remember it for this user. And so we are going to need somewhere that we can put that. And we're going to hopefully have lots of users all logged into our chat app at the same time. And so each of them needs their own place that they can keep something. And this is the handler runs on the server. So essentially the browser kind of, this model here exists in the user's process on the server, in the user's thread on the server. And every time it's updated, every time one of these fields is updated, the browser just sends the updated value up to the server. And then when they click submit, or they press the submit button or press enter, then it calls the handle submit method on the server. Okay. So what we need is something that is a place where the user can keep the user's data. And so what we are going to do is we're going to create another new folder, and we're going to call it services. And then we're going to create another new file in here, and we're going to call this user state.cs. Okay, so state is a programmy kind of word for information data about the current, it's the state of the application or the state of the user. And if you go into sort of computer science, GCSEs and A-levels and degrees, you'll learn about things called state machines and stuff. So the information we have about the each user is that user's state. And so we're going to create a class to hold user state. So we're going to say public class user state, like this. And then in here we can just have a prop string, and we'll just put name in there like this. Okay. And now what we need is for there to be one copy of this class for each user that is running our application. And we can do that by going into startup here, and we can get rid of that because we don't need it. And we can say services.add scoped user state. Undo control dot, bring in chat app.services. Okay, so what we're doing here is setting up dependency injection in our application, which is like super complicated, and I'm not going to explain it all right now. But basically, we're saying to the runtime and to the Blazor runtime, hey, when I ask for a copy, when I ask for one of these, an instance of this class, I want you to create it for me following certain rules. And scoped in Blazor says, I want you to create one of these for each user. So the user is linked to a scope. And so this user state will remember that user's information throughout the application. And so I can get that injected into here by saying @inject user state, like that. So that will inject that in for me there. I'm just going to add a couple more things to here. So I'm going to add class equals form control and required to make sure that this won't let us log in unless we've put a value in here. And then in here we can say user state dot name equals model dot username, and then we need to send the user off to somewhere else in the application. And so we are going to create a new page here, and new file, and we're going to call this room.razor, and this is going to be page slash room slash room name, like so. And then in here we're going to put our let's just put an H1, and then we're going to put our code down here, and we're going to have a public string room name get set, and we're going to mark this with an attribute. So we haven't looked at attributes yet in C#. Attributes are things that you can use to decorate bits of code in C# code, and it means you can do sort of interesting and useful things. Sometimes it tells the compiler to do things, sometimes it tells the runtime to do things. You can make your own attributes and then do things with them. In this instance, this is a Blazor attribute. It's a ASP.NET Core attribute, but it's understood by Blazor, and it's basically saying this property here is this parameter up here. And parameter just means a value that is passed in to allow you to customize the page. And then in here we can just basically put a header in with H1 room name, like that. And then our index.razor thing here, we now need a way to say, how do we get from here to that room page? And so we're going to inject another thing that is provided for us by Blazor, called Navigation Manager, like this. And so this is built into Blazor, and this lets you move users around in your application and do that sort of interesting stuff. And so then we can just say navigation manager dot navigate to, and in here we can just put /room/general. Okay. And then we can go back to here, and if I then put mark in there and press enter, and I just get my H1 general that goes in there like that. Okay. So So what else can I do in here, in my room here? Well, I can inject that user state, user state, user state. And then under here, I can put h2 welcome user state dot name, like this. And then we can go back to here, we can put Bob and do login. That's interesting. Why is that not updating? Let's try it again. There we go. Don't know why that wouldn't update from the .NET Watch. But yes, so now we say, welcome Bob. Okay. So that is a good start. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring in a bunch of stuff. So we're going to bring in most of the layout stuff from our experiment the other day. So we can get rid of all of this div stuff here. Okay. And I'm going to bring in all this code here. And I'm going to replace this code here with it. And we're going to bring that across like that. Okay. So this is now going to be our sort of layout for our Razor page here. But you can see that's not really laying out the way you would expect it to. And the reason for that is that the HTML page and the body part of it are not big enough. Okay. So what we're going to do to fix that is we're going to go into here, and we're going to add another page. Another new file in here, and we're going to call it room.razor.css. And this is going to be some CSS style information that's only loaded for the Razor, for the room.razor page. And in here, we're going to put HTML body height 100 VH and width 100 VW. So that is going to make the HTML and the body tag the full height and width of the browser window. And we're going to have to stop it and start it again to get that to take effect. The scoped CSS file room.razor.css was defined, but no associated Razor component was found for it. How has it ended up down there? There we go, that's better. So that's working. And then HTML. That does not seem to have made any difference at all to that. Nope, nope, nope. It's not picking up that setting from room.razor.css, so we can basically get rid of that. And we will instead just go into www.root css site.css. And this is our kind of built-in CSS for everything on the site. And so for HTML and body, I'm just going to add in height :100 VH and width 100 VW, like so. And then if we go back to here, you see that's now the full size that it is supposed to be. And we want this page and our main to be that size, that height as well. So we are going to go into our where's our layout gone? It's in shared and main layout. And if we just put an H-100 and an H-100 in there, and then that's more like it. So that has now got that to fill up the whole thing. And this main here fills up the whole thing. And then this container here fills up the whole thing. And this fills up the whole height. And that fills up the whole height. And so, yeah, there we go. And then this just pulls off the bottom there like that. And that's been pushed off the bottom there a little bit. There, like that. So that should this bit here should be further up than that. So we've got this row here, and then we've got this column here. And our chat box here goes down that far. So that's our chat window there. And this input box let's try changing that bottom to 5. Like that, see what that does. doesn't do anything at all. That worked fine. Oh, you know what I think this is? It's because I'm using the wrong version of Bootstrap. That's what it is. Because, yes, if we look in here, we were using this version of Bootstrap for our layout, which is version 5. Whereas the version of Bootstrap in our application is Bootstrap something else. So let's go back to our main layout. Let's go back to our host.cshtml and we'll replace this Bootstrap here with that Bootstrap. And we can run this again. And then we can refresh this again. And there we go. That's looking a little bit better. But we need to make a couple more tweaks to our CSS. So in our style.css here, we had overflow hidden. And we also mucked about with our scroll bars. So then in our chat app, we'll put overflow hidden in there, and we'll bring in our WebKit scroll bars like that. And that's got rid of our scroll bars. And we're all good. Okay. So let's try and do one last thing in our chat app there, in our room.razor. So we've got our div here. So our H5 here is saying it's got general kind of hard coded into it. So we're going to change that to room name like that. And then if I change this to lounge, for example, you see that shows us hash lounge up at the top there. And so we've got that bit of data coming in there. And that's dynamically updating this application here. And we're just going to format our document like that. And there we go. So we've got the start of our application here. If we go back to the start, and I can log in as Mark and then press login, and I can get to the login page there, and then I can change the room name to lobby or something, and that displays up at the top there. And so that's a pretty good start. And if I do that, then you can see we've got our spaces on the left and the right where we're going to put, so down here we'll have our list of rooms, and down here we'll have the list of people who are in the current room, and all that good stuff. So yeah, okay. That's a lot of information for one day, and I'm probably not explaining things particularly well, and I will try and slow down and improve these things. But yeah, I hope that this has been vaguely interesting. Please remember that we've got a Discord, and you can join up the Discord and shout out in there if things aren't making sense, or if you've got any suggestions, or if it's just, you know, this is too complicated, do something else, or whatever it might be. Okay. But yes, my voice is starting to go, which is terrible. I have not really been talking for very long. But I am going to call it for today, and I will be back on Tuesday next week, and we will start, we'll create some back-end code that will actually manage our room for us, and let us send messages and display messages and all this sort of stuff, and we'll build out our application and actually make it functional, so we can have two things running at the same, two sort of browsers running at the same time and talk, and it'll appear on both of them and all that sort of good stuff. Okay, so yeah, all right, that's it then. Thanks very much for stopping by. I'm hoping it was useful and helpful and stuff. And yeah, like I say, if anything didn't make sense, shout out in the Discord. Happy to explain stuff in there. And then I can talk through that on the next episode of this. And theoretically, tomorrow, 12:30, I will be doing a lunchtime stream with more Stream Badger, showing more advanced stuff, and me basically going, I don't know how this works. Unlike this stream, where honestly, I do know how this works. It just gets away from me sometimes. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for stopping by. And if you're not around tomorrow, then I will see you next week for the next School of Grok on Tuesday at 8 o'clock UK time. So yeah, look after yourselves, have a good weekend, and I will see you soon. Cheers.